Hello, I'm Krista Gibson. Welcome to Growing Older and Wiser. The other day I was talking to a friend of mine and she was having car trouble. She has an older car and there's some kind of electrical problem and she keeps taking it in and they keep not finding the problem and they think they do, but they don't. You know how that goes. I'm sure we've all had that happen with a vehicle or an appliance where the experts can't really figure out what's going on and it's really frustrating. And so she asked me, she said, because she's starting to use crystals, and she said, well, should I use a crystal? Should I put a crystal in there? I said, no, don't do that. I said, crystals tend to amplify, especially in that situation, because she said it was an electrical problem. Well, crystals are electrical in nature when they move their energy, and I said, don't do that. But I said, have you talked to the car? And she said, what do you mean? And I said, have you talked to the car? And said, hey, what's up? I appreciate you in my life, and you've got this problem, and what's going on? What do you need so we can solve this? And she kind of looked at me like I had a couple of heads, which is okay. But she said, I never thought about doing that. And I said, I talk to our car all the time. I said, several times a day, like we have a garage off of our house, and the door from the garage leads into a hallway that leads into the kitchen. And I said, I go by that door, and I said, in the mornings, I go and I open the door and I poke my head in the garage and I say, good morning, Lucy, that's the car. And the other things that are in, I tell them all good morning. And I'll tell them, well, they say it's going to be a hot day today. The garage is probably going to be kind of warm. So, be prepared for it, but you're going to be fine. Sometimes I'll say, hey, Lucy, you're going to get a run today. We're going somewhere. We don't always go places. And anyway, I have these ongoing dialogues with the car. And I said I do the same thing with the refrigerator, the oven, all the appliances, the rooms, my chair. There's pretty much nothing I don't talk to. And I usually do it quietly, but when I'm at home, every now and then I say it out loud. And my spouse laughs at me, shakes her head and says, I don't know what you're doing. And I said, hey, try it. I said, for instance, sometimes she has problems with her computer. I said, talk to your computer. Tell it what is the issue. Maybe it's tired. Maybe it needs to be replaced. Maybe it wants to be retired. But you won't know if you don't ask. Now, why is this so? Well, people were very much prejudiced in favor of humanity and humans. And we like to act like we either have the only consciousness on the planet, or if we admit that animals have consciousness, we'll say, okay, well, they do, but ours is better than theirs, which can sometimes be debatable. But everything has consciousness. Just because their consciousness isn't like our consciousness doesn't mean they don't have it. Rocks have consciousness, trees do, flowers do, and they respond really well to people who talk to them, who attempt to communicate with them on their level, in their way, and try to understand and listen to them. Now, what the heck does this have to do with growing older and wiser? Okay, truth is, we can do this at any age in our life. However, as we are growing older and we're growing wiser, we are in a position in our lives to be able to use this information in a more expanded, more, what's the word I want to use, productive kind of a way than maybe we could do when we were in our 20s and 30s. When we're younger, we're really focused on career and family and doing this and doing that. And we got to get ahead and we got to get a raise, got to get a new job, gotta, it drives us crazy. But as we grow older and we're kind of through those things, we've lived through those things, now we're in a position where we can actually listen better, learn more, and from there be able to use that information in a better way, not just for ourselves, but for our families and for the other people in our lives and for the planet. Right now there's war raging in the Middle East. It's raging in Ukraine and Russia. There's other places where things are going on and people are fighting and being killed and killing. And, it's just some days it's almost too much. And you just want to say, I'm ready to ascend. Take me away. But we can actually help by tuning into the consciousness of the bombs, the consciousness of the guns, the consciousness of the cities and the people and the places. We can communicate. We can say, hey, I know that you're being driven, talking to the bombs and so on now, you're being driven by outer forces. But, you're being used to kill innocent people. You're being used, to settle an argument that needs to be settled by talking and not bombing. What can you do to make this better for people? Maybe get off course. Maybe don't blow up in such a bad way. I don't know. What I do know is when we talk, to communicate with, talk is really maybe not the best word, but communicate with apparently inanimate objects that have consciousness we may not always like, we can have an effect on that consciousness. And I know that may sound bizarre, it may sound stupid, and that's okay, because I do believe it. And I believe that if enough of us would get busy talking on that level to other forms of consciousness, as well, of course, as to the humans who are behind all of this, who are really misguided, thinking that they can just keep doing this, you bomb me, I'm going to bomb you. That's the Old Testament, old way of doing things. It's not the current way for an advanced society on the planet to live. The way to live now is we have an issue, let's deal with it, let's sit down, let's talk. Sure, our ancestors fought. We don't have to do that. We can move on in another way. You and I and many other people, by holding that consciousness and sharing that consciousness with those people as well as with the inanimate objects, can in fact make a difference. I firmly believe it in my heart. So the more of us who can shift that, and especially those of us who are older and we have more wisdom, we have more understanding of humanity, and we can shift that energy through our thoughts, through the conversations that we have on an internal basis with the various things, not only in our lives, but also in the lives of the world at large. Start small. If you don't talk to your car, start talking to your car. If you don't talk to your refrigerator or your stove or your easy chair, whatever it is, start there. And then listen and see what they say back. I think what you're going to find is in your personal life, the more you do that, the more the things in your life and in your world will work better, because they're feeling appreciated. And they're like, my God, here's this human who understands me and why I'm here and what I can do for her and how I can make her life better, and appreciates it. Okay, this may have been a wacky doodle kind of video. I think there's a lot of you out there watching this who know exactly what I'm talking about, who agree with me, and perhaps already do these things. So I share it for whatever it's worth to you. And if it's too wacky doodle for you, you know what? Just don't do it. All right. Have a great week and take care.